Welcome, Supreme Evil, to Geek Salad's Retro Movie Review. From the Geek Salad Podcast, I'm Andy.
And I'm Mike.
And hey, folks, we are still in the month of Seantember as we look at the movies of Sean Connery. Amazingly, yet another movie where he is not playing a Scotsman.
Yeah, no, he's playing either a Mycenaean or a British firefighter, depending on which scene you're in.
Yeah. So tonight we are looking at the 1981 Terry Gilliam film Time Bandits. Yeah. So it's just crazy. He's been an Egyptian Spaniard. He's been a Russian or Ukrainian. Lithuanian. Lithuanian Russian. Now he's Greek.
Yeah.
I promise you, folks, it doesn't get any better next week either. But we are here to talk about Time Bandits. Now,
what can we say? The guy is versatile.
He's very versatile and having the same voice for all of the movies he's in, but you just have to accept that he is playing a person of another country.
Yes.
And so that does bring us to Time Bandits, a movie my dad took me to in the theater. And I think this might have been the first time where my dad had to begin wondering what is wrong with this kid.
I can see it. Yeah. I have seen this one before. Fairly soon we rented it on VHS at some point in my childhood. I haven't watched it in a very long time. And watching it again, I'm like, yeah, you can definitely tell this was written by two of the Monty Python crew.
Yeah.
It is.
Oh, this is that Monty Python all over it.
Yeah, it is. It is basically a sketches with a thin line story going through it all.
Yeah, you've got Kevin and the dwarves who are going throughout time while they meet the wacky, zany adventures of some historical figures.
And Michael Palin and Shelley Duvall twice.
Yes. And some of the best stuff of the movie. You know what the funny thing is? So I was thinking about this. Have we ever reviewed a Terry Gilliam film before?
No, I think
we've done Holy Grail, which technically it's Gilliam and he was a with Terry Jones.
Yeah.
But I don't think we definitely haven't done Brazil because I would love to do Brazil. I would love to get Tom from Perpetual Cinema on Brazil. Can't find it anywhere.
I've never seen Brazil in my life. In fact, I think out of all Terry Gilliam films I've seen, including Monty Python and Holy Grail, I've seen 3.
Okay. Now you got me thinking here. I've never seen. I've seen Munchausen. We've never reviewed that one.
I've never seen Baron Munchausen.
Okay.
I might have seen Jabberwocky once when I was very, very young off of TV.
That was on HBO. It was like an HBO classic, and I still didn't quite understand it because I wasn't a Python fan at that point.
Yeah, I might have seen it once, but I don't remember anything about it.
Yeah.
No, I've seen
The Imaginarium of Dr. Parnassus starring Troy McClure. Probably not going to watch that. Man Who Killed Don Quixote. I'm looking for the big stuff here, and there isn't a lot. Brothers Grimm. Crazy to me, he actually did it. Fear and Loathing. 12 Monkeys. The Fisher King. There's some good stuff in here.
I've seen My Python and Holy Grail. I've seen Time Bandits. I've seen 12 Monkeys, and that's it.
Okay.
For Terry Gilliam, and
so there's tons of Gilliam to be had in this movie, all around.
Oh, yeah.
But we definitely need to remedy that, at least with Brazil. Brazil is fantastic. It's just dystopian Monty Python. It's great.
Yeah, well, see, that's the thing is like one thing I love Terry Gilliam as a visual director.
Yeah.
It's just when it comes to everything else in his movies, they kind of fall apart for me.
Okay.
I was not a fan of 12 Monkeys at all.
Oh, 12 Monkeys was the first time that I was like, oh, wait a second. I really like Brad Pitt.
Yeah, 12 Monkeys was when I was like, I like how this was directed. I just don't like anything else about it. Ooh.
Okay. Yeah, I just saw that little blip.
Yeah.
Well, let's get back to the movie at hand then, because Time Bandits. So here's a funny thing about Time Bandits too, because my childhood, I saw this once in the theater. It very rarely showed up on HBO, and I remember a lot of the storytelling coming from that Marvel released like a double-sized comic book of the entire movie. And it was very graphic. I remember this movie being, and obviously that held up, pretty graphic for what was billed as a kids movie.
For the first half, no. Second half, yeah, I can see.
Oh yeah,
see it. Yeah. Once they actually get to the fantastical realm or the realm of fantasy, that's when things start going. Okay, this is kind of borderline kids movie now. It's kind of getting a little bit more than kids movie now.
But even like there's just that little bit in Sherwood Forest where they got the guy who's doing the arm wrestling and he's just tearing guys' arms off and tossing them onto a pile of other guys' arms.
And John Cleese being as Monty Python as I've ever seen him in any other thing.
Yes. He that's one of my favorite bits. It's just such a great visual gag in the movie that all of the merry men are just like absolute lowlifes.
That was weird again.
Yeah, I saw that happen. They're all like these dirty lowlifes, and then out comes Robin Hood in his big green hat and his green tights and his green outfit, and he's very cheery,
looking very clean, very cut, and very completely opposite of all of his men.
Yep.
And he's just like so polite, and it just seems like, and he's like, oh, here you go. It's so nice to meet you, Mr. Poor. Yes, here you go.
And then he's gonna walk out, just keep punching them.
Do you have to do that? Okay.
Yeah, yes, you do.
Okay. Carry
on. Yeah, the cast of this movie, it's funny too because Kevin legitimately this is all he's really done. And seeing Jim Broadbent so early in this movie.
Oh yeah, I saw him on the TV. I'm like, I know him. I just can't place him. And then he pops up again at the end. I'm like, holy shit, that's Jim Broadbent.
Jim Broadbent had been working British television and stage forever before he got his big break.
Yeah. It's really amazing how many fairly significant actors appear in this movie.
Yeah. I mean, Ian Holm.
Yeah.
Was brilliant as Napoleon.
Oh, his Napoleon. What did very, very short? No, it's too dark, you must be short.
Because of this movie, by the way, I labored for years thinking that Napoleon actually had a gold hand.
And Alexander the Great, he's only 5'4", 5'1". He's shorter than me.
Yep. And that's funny too, because whenever I see anything about Napoleon, they always have to mention average height for this time.
Yeah, he was like 5 foot. This one, the movie says he's like 5'4". I think he was actually 5'7".
I think he was 5'7". Yeah, which was average height for a man back then.
Yeah.
But yeah. So, and that brings me to something I really enjoyed about this movie was the art direction of this movie.
Yes. Well, that's Terry Gilliam all over.
Oh yeah,
that is absolutely him.
Everything. The realism of Napoleon's France, the dark and dirtiness of Sherwood Forest. I mean, honestly, the one that I didn't care for as much was the scene on the Titanic, or what was revealed to be the Titanic. Yeah, because it was just like, okay,
it's that one
deck. Here's a deck.
And you don't actually know it's the Titanic until he says, and plenty of ice, and the waiter moves off, and you see SS Titanic written on the and boom.
Yep.
Okay, you got a tilting deck. Okay.
Yeah. So I mean, that was a lot of fun. The stuff in Greece was great. Yeah. I enjoyed that.
That was the one scene that felt like it was actually a legit scene. It wasn't played for laughs or anything. It was just played
Right.
straight.
Well, not only that though, but also the fact that I really felt like there was probably more of this scene on the cutting room floor than anything else.
Yeah, I mean,
because they had the whole I always felt like they were really like working on something with Agamemnon's wife.
Yeah. Well, I actually, because of this, actually looked it up, and Agamemnon's wife killed him. Him and her lover killed Agamemnon. And I'm like, yeah, the way they were kind of setting up and all the looks between him and his wife, it was like, yeah, they are definitely setting up things like, but they left off the conclusion.
Yeah.
You know that right now the only reason that they have those looks are for people that actually know the history of Agamemnon, which probably aren't that many people.
Right. No, they're not. Because, I mean, quite honestly, for me, I always think that Agamemnon's a fictional character, too. Yeah. The stuff with the Minotaur as a kid was really scary. And now, yeah, obviously, got the bullhead on. But that was really interesting, watching that fight and seeing kind of how clumsy everything is when all you have are like bronze shields and swords.
You know what that kind of reminded me of the scene in an episode of Monty Python where Scott of the Antarctic, where he's fighting the Lion of the Sahara.
Uh-huh.
It's just clearly a guy in a suit.
Yeah.
He stabs him and there's just a spray of blood.
Yeah. But then moving into the land of tall tales and,
Yeah.
That was really cool. Now, first of all, Terry Gilliam loves Katherine Hellman because she was in this and she was in
Brazil,
yeah. You know her as Mona from Who's the Boss, which is crazy to me.
Yeah. Because actually, this movie would have come out right on the right after she would have finished up Soap.
Yeah, I was just thinking that.
Actually, he uses Ian Holm a lot. He uses Michael Palin a lot.
Yeah.
He uses Katherine Hellman a lot. He actually has a fairly stable actors.
Yeah, he's got a lot of people who are really just loyal to him, which is great. I mean, and obviously he can lean into his Python pals.
Yeah.
For a lot of that. I'm looking here at Winston the Ogre, played by Peter Vaughn, who Game of Thrones would know him as Meister. Meister Targaryen.
Oh.
The blind Meister.
I mean,
yeah, just stalwart British actor.
Yeah. And actually, speaking of his work with Michael Palin, I guess in Brazil, the character that Michael Palin played was supposed to go to Robert De Niro, but until Yumi had already promised Michael Palin.
Yeah.
Like, wow.
Well, that stuff. The interactions between Michael Palin and Shelley Duvall are just so much fun to watch.
And straight out of you can tell Michael Palin wrote them off of like my Python scripts because you don't mind being seen with a man with this thing in his nose. It's straight out of Monty Python.
Yes. Oh, but even the thing about his problem. Oh no! Oh no! The problem's going bad. Help! I need some fruit. But Shelley Duvall will go down in history as being one of the most underrated comedians.
Yeah.
She is so good in this. She is so good for these little bits.
Yeah.
That she's been given.
And
then, what's that?
I'm sure she was a great work with Terry Gilliam after having been suffering through
Kubrick?
Yeah.
Yeah, the year after. Yeah. Well, she had also Popeye. She'd done Popeye around that time too.
Oh yeah, with
Rob Williams, Altman.
Altman, yes.
She worked with all the auteurs.
Yeah.
We also can't forget David Warner.
David Warner is. I mean, I always love seeing David Warner in anything. But he is so freaking good in this.
He is.
Him and his little henchmen say, "Oh, can you kill me now?" Oh, yes, I'm going to kill you now. Oh, thank you, sir. Thank you.
It's really great because, I mean, it's just David Warner doing the David Warner.
Yeah.
I mean, if you've ever seen Time After Time, this is David Warner. This is that type of David Warner evil character.
David Warner is great at playing like he toes the line so perfectly well.
He does. His delivery is great.
Yeah.
Everything is delivered straight, and it's all about technology. It's all about computers and microchips, and what is the Supreme Being done? Nipples on men.
He's asking about the nuclear reactors and
Yeah.
what is computer?
But his design too, the character design of his headpiece with the skull and everything on the back.
You cannot tell me that Tim Burton didn't take a lot of inspiration out of that with Beetlejuice.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, yeah, with the thing coming out of his head with the crane.
And it even had the circus music going on.
Yeah.
That is straight Beetlejuice right there.
Yeah. No, that was fantastic. It's great too because the series of Time Bandits, which we watched, and I got to tell you, it's fantastic. I'm going to assume that at some point Apple will release it on physical media. They just canceled it, so
yeah, I did hear that,
which sucks. But Jermaine Clement plays Supreme Evil, and you could tell he's taking a lot. He's taking a lot of notes from David Warner's performance.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah. Taika Waititi, not so much from Sir Ralph Richardson's Supreme Being performance.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
I knew Taika Waititi was in it. I didn't realize that he was playing the Supreme Being.
Yeah. Well, the whole thing with the head, like the giant head that keeps following them, in the TV series, it's actually something, it's like a vehicle that he's riding in.
Oh.
And it's really difficult to get out of. But Ralph Richardson might be the only person there who looks like he's just there for the paycheck.
Yeah, but at the same time, he seemed like he was having a little bit of fun. Yeah, he didn't have much to do, but he seemed like he was having fun with it.
Yeah. Well, a lot of it was just like he's just kind of reciting his lines. I felt like, it's Ralph Richardson, for Christ's sakes. Same year he's in Dragon Slayer. He's in this. There's a lot of movies came out around this time. What's that?
And genuinely, he was only in that last scene. Every other, like when he was just the face floating around.
Yeah,
that wasn't. I don't think that was his face, and it wasn't his voice either. That was Tony J.
Yeah, it was mainly animation anyway.
Yeah,
but 2 days max on set is what I'm.
Oh yeah, if that, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he kind of showed up with all the gravitas of when John Houseman used to do McDonald's ads back in the late 70s and early 80s.
Oh yes, yeah. Or when
you want a good value.
Or when
they have a Big Mac.
Oh dang! What was that guy that did the ColecoVision?
Oh no, it wasn't ColecoVision. It was in television.
Yes,
George Plimpton.
That was it. Yes.
If ever there was a man, it was George Plimpton because he was an absolute egghead who was also a sports genius.
Actually, you know what? If they couldn't have gotten Sir Ralph Richardson, I could totally see George Plimpton doing this.
No, they would have gotten John Houseman. He was probably next up on the crotchety old man.
Yeah.
Now, reach your left arm out the window. Extend your middle finger.
Yes, now be sure and pick up all the pieces of evil. They're very evil.
Yeah.
Well, actually, one thing I think I did, just watching it again this time, I was like, when the evil kind of blows up his parents at the end.
Which terrified me as a kid.
Oh yeah, same here. Absolutely. I kind of wish it turned them into hermit crabs instead, because that's what Sir Alfred, the Supreme Being, said. Just one slight piece could turn you into hermit crabs.
Yeah.
Kind of wish it just turned them into hermit crabs.
Well, and that's that's something that they utilized in the movie, the TV series as well. That the they were turned into coal, but they were turned into coal by a demon who was chasing them. But they were trying to get them back. The story itself was a little altered, but it was still very good. And they did have a band of dwarves as well that were kind of running a parallel thing.
Oh, nice.
To them. So yeah, I think it would have culminated if had a second season happened. Mm-hmm. Now we'll never fucking know. Now in terms of the dwarf actors, I mean the majority of these guys were Ewoks, droids, or Jawas.
Well, yeah. I mean, Kenny Baker, Fidget, was R2D.
Yeah. Kenny Baker. I'm looking at some of these people right now. Malcolm Dixon, who was Strutter, was an Ewok. Mike Edmonds was Logray. He was Og.
Oh.
He was also Stretch in Who Framed Roger Rabbit. Do you remember the scene at the diner or the bar where Judge Doom says rabbit about yay high?
Yes, I remember him.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Jack Purvis, who was Chief Jawa. I'm trying to see if Tiny Ross was also. Nope. Tiny Ross was the only member of this crew who was not in any of the Star Wars movies. However, he is billed as dwarf in 1980's Flash Gordon.
And the only one of those groups that are that's still alive is Mike Edmonds, who played Og, the pig.
I'm trying to figure this out here too. Whoever Reginald is in Time Bandits, I don't remember a Reginald in there, but there would have had to have been. Played by John Young, who was the very important British scholar in Holy Grail.
Oh.
He also showed up in Life of Brian. He's all over the place.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's what I actually, one of the things I did notice this time, and I really respect this movie for, is that, like, other than the fact that, like, Napoleon loved him, it really never made a point to point out, like, oh, they're all short people.
Yeah.
They were just there.
Yeah, exactly. And that's something I know Terry Gilliam really prided himself on. With that, he was so pleased with himself that he could get a movie that starred an unknown kid and a bunch of dwarf actors that are going to carry the entire movie. Even though Cleese does get top billing, but I think that's because it's alphabetical.
Yeah.
Cleese, then Connery.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And both are in the movie for like less than 5 minutes.
Yeah. But we haven't even talked about Sean Connery yet. I mean, it is Seantember. Let's talk a little bit about King Agamemnon.
The only kind of like I was saying about that whole sequence, Sean Connery was the only one that kind of played it serious.
Yeah, he played it straight.
And it was, especially since you didn't really have the time, the bandits in that scene for the most part, except at the end. It was actually quite a nice little, touching little scene of the relationship between Kevin and him.
Yeah, it was really good. It also, first of all, what's refreshing is the fact that it also didn't seem like he was working for a paycheck.
Yeah.
This wasn't beneath him. Now, as far as I am aware, Sean wasn't doing great work back then either, though.
Yeah, that was 81.
Yeah, he was probably close to broke by this point. I mean, you got to consider that 2 years later, Never Say Never Again comes out.
Yeah, ironically, this is when his brother was comforting him.
But he was also in Outland, so which is an interesting movie if you ever get around to watching it.
Yeah, that he actually made that the same year as this one.
Yeah, 81 is filled with so many sci-fi, like just like under the radar sci-fi and horror movies and fantasy movies.
Yeah. Yeah, the 70s were not kind to Sean Connery.
No.
Although he did do A Bridge Too Far.
Well, he also did The Man Who Would Be King, which is a great movie.
Yeah. But he also did Zardoz.
He did Zardoz, and we all have to live with that mental image of him in that jockstrap. So
I gotta go take a cold shower now.
Yeah, but no, I think he's just overall might be my favorite scene or setting in the entire movie because it is played straight. They did a great job reimagining ancient Greece. I found that was really wonderful. And that's in a movie that is filled with gorgeous looking sets.
Yeah. It is. It seems like they put the most time and effort into that scene alone.
Yeah,
which is nice because it really is the only scene that actually kind of gives any kind of character depth to Kevin. Really,
well, a little bit. Well, it's the home. Really, it's the only time he's had a home where he is actually cared for and loved.
Yeah, I would say that's my biggest knock on this movie is that it's really a movie about things happening, but like there's no character growth for any of the characters. It's just
right.
He gets caught up with their antics.
Yeah,
they do a bunch of stuff, and then his parents touch evil and blow up. And
yep. And you're left wondering what happens to this kid after that.
Yeah. Does the firefighter come back and adopt him, which would be cool?
Yeah, I would hope so. But he just kind of like winked at him and like, yep, okay, well, have a good life, kid.
Yeah, in my headcanon, he comes back and adopts him, and it's a whole like recycling.
Yeah, it's wonderful. But yeah, no, you're right. There's a lot of like little character moments when many of the Time Bandits themselves find their courage when they need to.
Yeah.
Or they find like that extra, and it really is only Strutter and good Lord, David Rappaport's character. Why can't I remember his name?
Oh, Randall.
Randall, yeah. David Rappaport, man, what a sad life that dude led.
Yeah, but I also gotta say, I think Wally and when Wally actually kind of starts charging at evil after Fidget dies.
Yeah.
That was a genuinely touching moment right there.
Yeah, no, it was, and it was like the first time I saw this movie, I saw Kenny Baker's name in the movie in the credits, and I'm like, okay, which one is he? I don't think I'd ever seen him like ever.
Yeah,
but,
you never see him outside the dome in
Star Wars. But I mean, overall, I had a good time with this movie.
Yeah.
It really made me appreciate how down the well you can get also in 1981 sci-fi, fantasy, and horror.
Yeah.
It really is. The amount of movies that came out in 81 that had all this on display is crazy.
Yeah, I can't take anything away from Terry Gilliam as a visual director. I mean, and
right.
I mean, and the like when actually they were doing the whole thing, that whole fight against evil at the end, like David had David Warner, the thing coming out of his head, the mannequin of him was spot on, perfect.
Oh yeah.
The whole effect work was really well done.
Yeah. No, this is definitely a movie that had a lot of care and a lot of love put into it. And then because it was made through Handmade Films, George Harrison's company, it had that look of a Monty Python film.
Yeah.
That looked like it was being made on the cheap, even though I'll pull up some numbers here.
Yeah, I got the numbers here. Budget only $5 million. Box office 42.
Wow.
So it made money.
Sizable hit for that time.
Which you can't say about every single one of Terry Gilliam's movies.
Oh no! In fact, most of his movies are horrific bombs.
It's kind of like it's kind of like Terry Gilliam is kind of like the Leica of directors. The movies never make money, but they find audiences and they keep coming around for some reason.
Not in all cases. I mean, there were some movies there like, like The Brothers Grimm. Even Baron Munchausen, which is probably a spiritual successor to Time Bandits. Nobody talks about that movie. It is considered one of the largest box office bombs of all time.
Yeah, actually, Terry Gilliam calls Time Bandits, Brazil, and Baron Munchausen his trilogy of imagination.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's been forever since I've watched Munchausen too. I don't know if I could bring myself to watch it.
I can honestly say I've never seen it before in my life.
I think I watched it on HBO. I wanted to see this one in the theater, but it came and went.
Yeah, I just looked at the box office versus budget of Baron Munchausen.
Yeah.
It's pretty much the exact opposite of Time Bandits.
Oh, yeah. It cost a ton to make and took in nothing.
Budget nearly 50, box office
46.6 million. Opening weekend, U.S. and Canada, $597,000. U.S. gross in the U.S. and Canada was $8 million. Gross worldwide, $8 million. Ooh.
That is a big bomb.
Yeah.
That's like Adventures of Pluto Nash bomb.
Oh, that's bad. Yeah.
Yeah.
But that was Time Bandits. I don't know if you have anything else to say about it. I enjoyed watching this. I can't wait to have our final Sean conversation next week. You might not know what the movie is because, let's face it, how many times does he legitimately pay a Scotsman in a movie?
Yeah. He doesn't in the next one either.
So,
spoiler.
Yeah. Pickings are not slim with that one. So anyway, we will be back next week with another Sean Connery. A look back at another Sean Connery movie. So we want to know, what are your thoughts on Time Bandits? Leave a polite comment below. Let us know where this ranks in your favorite Terry Gilliam films, and whether or not we should in fact do Brazil.
This is my favorite Terry Gilliam movie, but like I said, I'm not the biggest fan of him as a director. Yeah. Visual, yes. Directing,
Yep. Oh, and Brazil is a feast for the eyes, so just setting you up with that one.
Yeah, I'm just more worried about the rest of the movie.
Gotcha. So, I'm looking forward to having that conversation next week. If you like what you saw here, what's that?
Not Brazil.
Not Brazil. No, we're talking about Time Bandits right now. We're back to Time Bandits.
Yeah.
So if you like what you saw here, you want to check out more of our stuff. We do have playlists galore. Check out our back catalog. Mike and I also host a podcast called Geek Salad. You can check that out wherever you get your podcasts. We are also on the socials, on Facebook at Geek Salad Podcast, and on Twitter, Blue Sky, and Threads at Geek Salad Radio. If you are going to our Twitter feed, please vote. Our next show, we are going to be celebrating the 50th season of Saturday Night Live with a look at the top cast members. I've got a bracket system. Round 1 is over. Round 2 begins tomorrow.
Okay.
A lot of people we gotta winnow through there, but yes, please do that. Vote. Twitter, so you can only vote once, unless you're a Russian bot, in which case you vote all the time. So check that out. Check out our podcast. You can even check that podcast out here on YouTube. So subscribe, like the video, and if you want to give us a review, be kind. Go to iTunes because it's the only one that really matters. Give us 5 stars, and then complain about us in the comments. That's really how this whole thing works, right? So, we will see you next week for the conclusion of Seantember. And until next time, I'm Andy.
I'm Mike.
Go forth and be nerdful. We'll talk to you later.